This is a variable ND filter, and honestly it's the only filter you need for video. A variable ND filter, or VND for short, basically cuts the light hitting your sensor, and you can think of it like sunglasses for your lens. This allows you to properly dial in your exposure, and you can rotate the front element to make your image brighter or darker. This is really important if you want to shoot 24 frames per second, which is what most films are shot at, and you want to follow the 180-degree shutter rule, which means keeping your shutter speed 2 times your frame rate. So if you're shooting 24 frames per second, your shutter speed will be 1/48 of a second. The reason you want this is so you get that nice cinematic motion blur. If you take your hand, for example, and wave it in front of your face, you notice that your eye is capturing motion blur. So with these settings, we're essentially emulating how our eyes naturally capture motion, and as you can tell, you get that nice motion blur. However, in bright daylight situations like this, without a VND filter, this is what my footage will look like. It's gonna be very overexposed. So again, that's why you need these sunglasses for your lens to cut your exposure a little bit while following these cinematic filmmaking rules. I'm specifically using the Freewell 2-to-5 stop and Freewell hybrid VND/CPL 3-to-7 stop, which I'll talk about the CPL part later. Now, I've owned the Freewell 2-to-5 stop threaded VND for almost 6 years now, and it pretty much stays on my lens. However, in super bright, harsh lighting, that 5 stops isn't always enough if you want to shoot at a wide aperture like f2.8. So for me, I'll typically go up somewhere between f5.6 and f6.3. But if you do want the option to always be able to shoot wide open, I would definitely recommend going with the Freewell 3-to-7 stop CPL/VND. They offer a magnetic and a threaded version. The magnetic is a bit chunkier, so if you do want a slimmer profile, you might want to go with the threaded version. Now say you're shooting on a Sony camera in S-Log3. In that color profile, you'll want to set your ISO to 800, which is the base ISO. At this ISO, you'll get the best performance out of your sensor, but as you can tell, it's way too bright. So in this case, again, put an ND on and now you're good to go. Or maybe you want to drop your aperture all the way down to f2.8 to get some nice separation from the background, but again, it's gonna be way too overexposed. So slap your ND filter on, adjust the exposure, and now you can shoot at the aperture you want without your footage being overexposed. Now, VND filters do have a few minor drawbacks. Most VNDs will give you a slight color cast. For example, my Freewell 2-to-5 stop VND tends to shift the colors a little bit warmer and a little bit more green compared to how it looks without a filter. However, this is a pretty easy fix. Just adjust the color temperature and the tint until it looks pretty neutral. VND filters can also make computer screens and laptop screens look very strange due to the polarization. And depending on the angle of sunlight, it can give this vignetting effect, meaning like there will be a dark corner in the edge of your frame. But the solution to that is using a hybrid CPL/VND filter. The VND part of the filter, you can still adjust the exposure, and then the CPL, if you look in this corner right here, as I rotate it, I can make these corners kind of like brighter or darker depending on how I want it to look. And this will control reflections, how your screens look, so this will give you more control. At the end of the day, filmmaking is really just about experimenting and controlling your light. And VNDs are the quickest and easiest way to do so. So hopefully this video helps you out. If you do have any questions, let me know in the comments and I will see you in the next one. Also, let me know how you like me filming outdoors rather than an office space, because this is pretty uncomfortable, but I feel like the footage looked better. So just let me know. Peace.